Hello and welcome to Devil's Advocate. Later this month, the Hurriyat Conference will visit Pakistan. What kind of welcome can they expect? That's one of the key issues I shall explore today with the chairman of the Hurriyat Conference, Mirwaiz Umar Farooq. Mirwaiz Farooq, in a few days from now, you're going to be visiting Pakistan at the invitation of the new government. Are you perturbed by the spate of comments and official statements suggesting that the new government in Pakistan is fairly dramatically changing Pakistan's traditional policy on Kashmir?
I don't think there's a change in Pakistan's policy, but definitely in approach, and which I feel is a welcome sign, because if we have to address the issue of Kashmir, we have always said that out-of-the-box solutions and out-of-the-box approach is what is needed.
The problem is that it may be more than just a change in approach. Let me quote to you what Asif Zardari said to this program in March. He said, India and Pakistan should not be hostage to the UN resolutions. He said they could agree to disagree. More importantly, he says that the Kashmir issue should be left for a later, wiser generation to sort out. And in the meantime, the two countries should get on with improving their relations. Now that is a complete reversal of Pakistan's traditional position.
See, as a Kashmiri and as a member of the Hurriyat, we are not averse to India-Pak dialogue and India-Pak coming together. But I don't think, if you look at the recent statement made by the Pakistani Prime Minister, in which he has once again reiterated the fact that we need to have a solution where Kashmiri aspirations need to be taken into account. So saying that, the Hurriyat Conference is always of the view that we as Kashmiris believe that the time has come when Pakistan has to think in terms of more what is in the interest of Kashmiris, rather than what is Pakistan going to get out of Kashmir.
Except that talking to this program just 2 weeks ago, Prime Minister Gilani made it clear that whilst Pakistan would consult the Kashmiris, he wasn't going to give the Kashmiris a veto. And secondly, he said that Kashmir would not be an obstacle to an improvement of relations in two countries. So even Prime Minister Gilani is moving away from the position you want him to take.
I don't think, we want to be an obstacle. In fact, we want to be a bridge of friendship between the two countries. But, let's get the facts right. In all honesty, whatever Mr. Zardari is saying and Mr. Gilani is saying, the fact is that Kashmir is the bone of contention. And you cannot have relations, workable relations between India and Pakistan unless and until there is some movement on Kashmir.
Absolutely, that is the Hurriyat's position. But the problem is that's not what Mr. Gilani is saying, that's certainly not what Mr. Zardari is saying.
I think
they are prepared to put Kashmir aside, leave it for a later generation to sort out, whilst they say India and Pakistan should get on with improving their relationship.
Let's wait for a couple of weeks. We are going to Pakistan, we are going to meet Mr. Gilani. I don't think, to be honest enough, I believe that the ball has been set rolling in 2004. When General Musharraf came up with his ideas of, 4-point proposal. And I think, with whatever differences there might be between the Pakistani political parties, I remember meeting Benazir in 2005. And she was of the view that, although he had a difference with Musharraf, but she was of the view that, if Pakistan needs to move forward in terms of Kashmir, we are willing to give support. The only thing is that Musharraf needs to take the parliament into confidence. So I don't think that there is any...
You see, the problem is Benazir said that to you in 2005, but in 2008, in fact, just 2 weeks ago, Mr. Gilani said to me that General Musharraf's thinking was half-baked. He said his government would not necessarily endorse General Musharraf's concepts of a solution based on self-governance or joint management.
No, because I think General Musharraf's ideas could not go further because there was a response from India. If India has responded to the suggestions and proposals given by Musharraf, I think a lot of headway could have been made.
But now the Pakistan government itself is distancing itself from Musharraf's proposals. It's not India that's the problem.
I mean, Hurriyat Conference, we believe that, all proposals, all suggestions are welcome. And we want to discuss everything on the basis of merit. So we are saying that if the new government is coming up with a new set of proposals and ideas, let them discuss with their people, let them discuss with Kashmiris. We can sit and talk about it.
Let me put you one of the ideas they're coming up with. For instance, Asif Zardari in March and again in May has repeatedly said that the two countries should concentrate on boosting trade, increasing interdependence and building up confidence. And then he says only will the congenial atmosphere be created in which Kashmir can be sorted out. In other words, he's now talking about a trade-first policy. Build up trade, leave Kashmir for later.
I don't think that's a fact. I think they're talking about measures which can go along as far as Kashmir is concerned.
Can I interrupt? You say you don't think it's a fact, but this is what he said to PTI on the 22nd of May. He says, my dream is that Pakistan is the force multiplier for India. No previous Pakistani leaders ever said that sort of thing.
Maybe, he has said many things. And if you look at the recent statements which he has been making after meeting recently the Kashmir leadership of Azad Kashmir, he has said exactly the same thing what Prime Minister Gilani has said. So I don't think, we should go by statements. They make statements at different levels. But I think that what is important, you have 2 or 3 facts which you need to have right in terms of any movement forward. One is that Pakistan and India cannot afford to put Kashmir on the back burner and talk about trade, politics, cultural exchanges, sports, because it's a live issue. People are getting killed. Yes, of course, there's a ceasefire on the borders. Indian Pakistani forces are not getting killed, but the fact is Kashmiris are getting killed in Kashmir.
But do you see the problem? You're saying India and Pakistan can't afford to put it on the back burner. Asif Zardari is not only prepared to, he's advocating it.
I think, what Mr. Zardari has said, probably, you're taking it much out of the context. Yes, he's of the view that India, Pakistan should come together. There should be trade. There should be all kinds of exchanges between the two countries. But
I'm not taking it out of context. I'm only interrupting you for this reason. This is what he says. We can be patient till everybody grows up further. Maybe the coming generation grows up even further.
That might be his personal opinion, but I don't think that's the opinion of the government of Pakistan.
But he's the most important person. He's the Sonia Gandhi equivalent.
No, but that's true. But, we have had many people saying different things at different times. But we, let it be very clear on this, that, you and I know that in terms of Pakistan, there are 2 important factors. One is, of course, the government and the political parties. And then the most important factor in Pakistan is the army. So I think any Kashmir policy, if it has to be changed, that has to be in consultation with the army. And I don't see that there's any change in Pakistan's policy on Kashmir. As I said, yes, in approach, there is a change, and we don't disagree with that change.
You're suggesting that the army won't let Zardari or Gilani actually put into practice what they're saying in rhetorical terms. That's what you're suggesting.
I'm saying that, it's very difficult for any prime minister in Pakistan to come up with a set of ideas and try to implement it on its own, unless and until there is the backing of the other institutions in Pakistan.
The army in particular.
In particular, we know it for sure.
But the problem is that 2 months have passed since Zardari made his statements, 3 weeks since Gilani made his statements. The army hasn't said a word.
I think if you look at the last statement made by General Kiani when he visited Azad Kashmir, that was very important, in which he said that there's absolutely no question of the Pakistani army letting its support go to the moral and political issue of Kashmir.
So your answer to me is, don't pay attention to Zardari and Gilani. It's Kayani that matters, and if Kayani stays traditional, that's what matters.
I'm saying that there is there's complete harmony, at least between the institutions in Pakistan, as far as Kashmir is concerned. There might be issues where they differ vis-a-vis internal issues in Pakistan, but as far as Kashmir is concerned, it's the core of Pakistan's foreign policy. So you can't afford to say that that the army is going one way and the political institutions are going the other way. There has to be a policy in tandem vis-a-vis these institutions.
You seem to be confident about that, but actually separatist and militant leaders in Pakistan themselves are not. For instance, the Al-Badr chief Zameen Khan has sharply criticized Asif Zardari for meeting Mehbooba Mufti. And more importantly, Said Salahuddin, the head of the Hizbul Mujahideen, has said publicly that he will wage war on Islamabad and Lahore if any change in Pakistan's policies means Kashmir suffers. So these people are very scared. They take Asif Zardari's change or Gilani's change very seriously. They don't see any hope in Kayani.
I think that, let's move beyond statements. In reality, if we have to move forward, we have to understand the fact that Kashmir is a very vibrant issue in Pakistan. With all the internal problems and political issues they have, Kashmir remains the key as far as Pakistani public opinion is concerned.
They can't afford to ignore it.
They can't afford.
Except the question is, will they seek you as the interlocutor, or might they instead start seeking Mehbooba Mufti and Omar Abdullah?
I don't think the Hurriyat Conference or any Kashmir leader, wants to be an interlocutor. We are a party to the conflict. We are a party to the dispute.
But if they...
It's very important for Pakistan, if they have to move forward, they have to take into account the leadership in Kashmir.
But suddenly Asif Zardari is holding press conferences with Mehbooba Mufti.
That's fine. We are not averse to that. If Mehbooba Mufti is saying something which she didn't used to say 2-3 years back, if Farooq Abdullah is saying something today, same as the Farooq Abdullah who used to say that let's go and bomb Azad Kashmir.
You really mean it? You're not averse to that?
No. If these parties are serious and sincere in terms of addressing the Kashmir issue, Hurriyat Conference welcomes that
Except for the fact that Naeem Ahmad Khan, president of the JK National Front, one of your colleagues on the Hurriyat Conference, said this to the Indian Express on the 31st of March. I would say Mehbooba meeting Asif Zardari is not a good signal from Pakistan. And then he added, it is really alarming.
I don't think so it's alarming at all. We have been going to India, we have been meeting the Indian leadership, Indian Prime Minister, other political parties. They have been going to Pakistan, whether through Pugwash or through their other, delegations.
So this is not a worrying development?
I don't see it as a worrying delegation at all. I think that it's good. It's good that these people go to Pakistan, talk in Pakistan and come back. They need the certificate of Pakistan in Kashmir to propagate their ideas. So I think that it's a moral victory.
You're saying Mehbooba needs Zardari's certificate?
I think she needs Pakistan's certificate. That's what she has said, because if you look at the events, she's come from Pakistan.
Okay.
She is going to every election rally and saying that, I have went to Pakistan and I spoke this and I got this. So it says that even for the mainstream politics, the Ashirwad or the support of Pakistan is very important.
In which case, let me end this part by putting bluntly to you the following question. You will go to Pakistan in June, you will be welcomed warmly, the rhetoric will be effusive. But are you confident that behind it, Zardari and Gilani haven't changed course in such a way that the importance of Hurriyat is diminished and Kashmir itself is moved from center stage to a side subject? Are you sure that
I'm absolutely confident that no government in Pakistan can sideline the Kashmir issue. As long as the Kashmir issue is alive in the hearts and minds of Kashmiris, as well as in the hearts and minds of people in Pakistan, no government can afford it.
In that case, let's take a break there. Mirwaiz Farooq, I want to come back in part 2 and talk about you and your leadership. That's in a moment. See you after the break. Welcome back to Devil's Advocate and an interview with the chairman of the Hurriyat Conference, Mirwaiz Umar Farooq. Mirwaiz Farooq, let's talk about you. On the 21st of May, you invited the Prime Ministers of India and Pakistan to hold a summit first in Srinagar and then thereafter another one in Muzaffarabad. Was this a joke or a desperate attempt to make the Hurriyat relevant?
No, I think in all sincerity we believe that if we have to move forward in terms of Kashmir issue, why not start something from Kashmir? Both the countries are saying that, we want Kashmiri involvement. Both want to talk to Kashmiris. Why not start something where what we say, Qaziya-e-Zameen, Barsar-Zameen?
But doesn't this sound a bit like the tail wagging the dog?
No, I don't think so. I think that, in all honesty, I think that it's a workable solution. I mean, Prime Minister of India has been saying that, we want to have a roundtable discussion on Kashmir. So has been the Prime Minister of Pakistan saying that we want to call all the Kashmir leadership. So why
you're
not,
in a sense challenging them and saying, all right, come here and hold it in Srinagar?
I think, yes, it would be an excellent idea to have one session in Srinagar and one in Muzaffarabad.
Have you had any response from either Delhi or Islamabad?
We have not approached them officially as yet, but we will be soon.
Why haven't you approached them? Why have you taken so long?
No, I think that, first of all, we want to see what's the mood in Delhi. When we spoke about other issues in the rally of the 21st May.
You mean you want to choose the timing of the approach so that you don't get a no?
No, we want to see that, some work is done, and some that...
Homework.
Homework also in the sense that, it doesn't seem to be just a statement. We want it to be considered seriously in terms of moving forward.
What about the fact that both Delhi and Pakistan in their own language are indicating that whilst they're happy to consult the Kashmiris, they're not going to give you a veto, which means that they'll sort out Kashmir on their terms and you'll only have a side role?
Well, we have been seeing India and Pakistan talking over the years, and now it's a fact that Kashmir cannot be resolved bilaterally. You have to involve the third party, which is Kashmir. Shimla, Tashkent, Agra, New Delhi. These are all agreements which have failed primarily because Kashmiris were never consulted and involved.
But you
I think it's important. It's important, the new scheme of things.
You say they must involve the third party, and I'm sure there's a lot of support for that position in Kashmir itself. But the problem is that now that Gilani and Zardari are prepared not to give the Kashmiris a veto and are publicly saying so, they're actually supporting New Delhi's reluctance to bring you into the picture.
I don't think so. I mean, we have never wanted a veto power. In fact, if you look at the Hurriyat's,
So you just want to be consulted?
No, we want them that they should not only consult the leadership in Kashmir, but involve them in terms of what we suggested. In terms, Hurriyat was the first one to suggest a triangular dialogue,
but you see,
where India talks to Kashmir, Pakistan talks to Kashmir, and they talk between each other.
But talking is one thing. They may talk to you, but if they don't heed you and they don't give you a veto, then what's the point of it? There's no...
I mean, that's why things have not moved, because they have not taken the Kashmiris seriously.
And let me put something else to you. The language being used by Pakistan now seems to suggest that slowly and steadily they may be coming around to the Indian position that Kashmir is important, it has to be sorted out, but it's not a core issue. Because you see, although Zardari and Gilani still call it a core issue, they aren't behaving as if it's core, and the next stage will be to even stop calling it core. Again, that's a problem for you.
This is that we are trying to accept the fact that Kashmir is something which Pakistan and India can wish away. It's not going to wish away.
No, not wish away.
It's something which is very much there,
No,
unless you see, we have a situation here. You have hundreds and thousands of troops present on the ground. People are getting killed. Yes, violence has come down, but in terms of violence, is not the only issue. Militancy and violence is not Kashmir issue. Kashmir issue is more than violence.
Absolutely. It's not that they wish to wish it away. They can't, and they know it. They want to sort it out on their terms, which may not be the terms that suit you and Kashmiris. And this is the problem.
They have not put down any terms as such. We are going to Pakistan. We'll talk to the government in Pakistan. We talked to the government in India. When in 2004 we started dialogue with Delhi. And we came up very seriously and very openly. And we said, we are ready to discuss suggestions, proposals, provided Delhi takes some measures. So, see what has happened. What has happened is that it's been a one-way process. Whatever Pakistan has said, yes, there is flexibility in Pakistan, which is needed. There's flexibility in Kashmiri leadership, which I feel that we are the ones who are suffering, so there has to be flexibility from our side. But you don't see any flexibility from the Indian side. So all these efforts put together, we are not going to move forward unless and until India also comes on and accepts the fact that, we have to think
Aren't you worried that the flexibility from the Pakistani side is actually feeding into India's interest?
I think for the first time,
one reason why India's not being flexible.
If you ask me my honest opinion, I think for the first time, in terms of politics, I would say, Pakistan has played these cards very well. They have said that we want Kashmiri interests to be paramount.
They haven't said that.
They have.
They haven't.
In the sense, if you look at
Gilani said the opposite to me.
No, if you look at what the governments of Pakistan have been saying in terms of Kashmiri aspirations, they are saying that that we want Kashmiris to be at the top in terms of
no veto, consulted.
No, we don't want
no
veto. I would quote the statement which General Musharraf made to me in person.
But he no longer counts.
No, but I think he counts in terms of says that he's still the president, still commands respect among people. And in terms of Kashmir policy, I would say that I believe personally, whatever wrapping you might go around doing it, but I think more or less, if we are to move forward, it is in and around the 4 points proposal.
Let me put it like this. We have only a minute left. All the signs from Pakistan suggest that you're going to get a warm welcome, but you're not going to get much more. Delhi is not even talking to you at the moment. Don't you think that the world and circumstances are moving against you rather than with you?
I don't think so. I think what counts is the situation on the ground. I think Kashmiris are determined on the ground. There is a lot of faith as far as Kashmiris are concerned in terms of the tremendous sacrifices they have given. 100,000 people have been lost in the last 20 years. Yes, we can forgive, but we cannot forget.
And that faith and that determination keeps you going?
It does. It's the only thing we have. It's the only thing which will keep us going in future also.
Mirwaiz Farooq, a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much.